Question 215. Which AWS tool will allow you to learn about the availability of AWS services and also provide the overall status of AWS services? And the options are A. AWS Personal Health Dashboard, B. AWS Service Health Dashboard, C. Amazon CloudWatch, D. AWS Control Tower. And the correct answer is option B. AWS Service Health Dashboard. Explanation. The AWS Health Dashboard is the single place to learn about the availability and operations of AWS services. You can view the overall status of AWS services, and you can sign in to view personalized communications about your particular AWS account or organization. Your account view provides deeper visibility into resource issues, upcoming changes, and important notifications. Option A is incorrect because AWS Personal Health Dashboard provides alerts and remediation guidance when AWS experiences events that may impact you. Option C is incorrect because Amazon CloudWatch is a monitoring and observability service built for DevOps engineers, developers, site reliability engineers, and IT managers. Option D is incorrect, as AWS Control Tower is the easiest way to set up and govern a new secure multi-account AWS environment. Next question. An engineering firm is configuring a large number of servers across multiple subnets in an Amazon VPC. What is the default limit for root tables in a VPC? And the options are A. 100, B. 200, C. 20, D. 50. And the correct answer is option B. 200. Explanation. 200 root tables are supported per VPC. This is a soft limit and can be adjusted as per customer needs. Each of these root tables supports 50 non-propagated routes and 100 BGP advertised propagated routes. All other options are incorrect, as each Amazon VPC supports 200 root tables. Next question. In order to protect sensitive patient data, an industry regulatory body requires insurance companies to fully control cryptographic key management locally, given that all their workloads are in the cloud. How can the organization achieve this? And the options are A. AWS Key Management Service, B. AWS Certificate Manager, C. AWS Cloud HSM, D. Server-side encryption. And the correct answer is option C. AWS Cloud HSM. Explanation. AWS Cloud HSM allows the administrator to have full and exclusive control over the generation and management of cryptographic keys on actual hardware security modules that are physically stored in AWS data centers. Option A is incorrect because AWS Key Management Service is a fully managed AWS service. This makes the service an intelligible option since the prerequisite of the use case is for the company to retain full control and administration of the keys. Option B is incorrect because AWS Certificate Manager is primarily for issuing verified security certificates for SSL or HTTPS on AWS resources such as Elastic Load Balancer or Web Application Firewall. Option D is incorrect because server-side encryption is typically encryption of objects or data within the bucket in Amazon S3. The data is encrypted at the object level as it is saved on AWS storage infrastructure and then decrypted when it is accessed. Next question. Which step is required when creating a key pair for connecting to an Amazon EC2 instance? And the options are A. Import a public key created by a third-party tool to an Amazon EC2 instance. B. Import a private key created by using Amazon EC2 console to an Amazon EC2 instance. C. Import a public key created by using Amazon EC2 console to an Amazon EC2 instance. D. Import a private key created by a third-party tool to an Amazon EC2 instance. And the correct answer is option A. Import a public key created by a third-party tool to an Amazon EC2 instance. Explanation. A key pair is a set of public and private keys, which are security credentials used to connect to Amazon EC2 instances. Following are the ways to create key pair for connecting to an Amazon EC2 instances. Number 1. Create a key pair using Amazon EC2 instance. Key pairs can be created using console, AWS CLI, or PowerShell. Public key is stored in Amazon EC2 instance. Customers need to download and save private keys securely, which will be used to connect to Amazon EC2 instances. Number 2. Create a key pair using third-party tools. Key pairs can be generated using third-party tools. Private keys generated by this tool need to be stored securely, while public keys need to be imported in Amazon EC2 instances using Console, AWS CLI, or PowerShell. Option B is incorrect, as there is no need to import private keys into Amazon EC2 instances. Amazon EC2 instance stores public key. Private key needs to be securely stored by the customer. Option C is incorrect, as when a key is generated using an Amazon EC2 instance, no need to import the public key into Amazon EC2 instance. It will be automatically applied. Option D is incorrect, as there is no need to import private keys into Amazon EC2 instances. Amazon EC2 instance stores only public key. Private key needs to be securely stored by the customer. Next question. A company with multiple AWS environments would like to centrally manage and govern their AWS environments, resources, and users without affecting their budgets. What is the best approach? And the options are: A. Create multiple unique IAM users with administrator access for each functional group of the company. B. Use of AWS CloudFormation template versions and revision controls to keep track of the dynamic configuration changes. C. Use AWS organizations with respective OUs that differentiate billing across the company's AWS account. D. Provisioning resources and computing capacity for future growth. And the correct answer is option C. Use AWS organizations with respective OUs that differentiate billing across the company's AWS account. Explanation. AWS organizations helps you centrally manage and govern your environment as you grow and scale your AWS resources. Using AWS organizations, you can programmatically create new AWS accounts and allocate resources, group accounts to organize your workflows, apply policies to accounts or groups for governance, and simplify billing by using a single payment method for all of your accounts. AWS organization provides composite billing into a single account. Option A is incorrect, because creating multiple IAM users with administrator privileges is not a best practice. Roles and permissions should be assigned on a least privilege basis. Option B is incorrect, because CloudFormation is a tool to automate provisioning and updating your infrastructure. It cannot help with governance. Option D is incorrect, because provisioning of resources and compute capacity that accommodates future growth means that there is a capacity that is idle in anticipation of long-term growth. According to the AWS well-architected framework reliability pillar, this is not cost-effective. The company should only pay for what is being used. Next question. Which of the following disaster recovery options requires minimal resources and capacity to handle requests in a secondary region? And the options are: A. Pilot Light, B. Multi-site, C. Backup and Restore, D. Warm Standby. And the correct answer is option D. Warm Standby. Explanation. The warm standby approach involves ensuring that there is a scaled down but fully functional copy of your production environment in another region. This approach extends the pilot light concept and decreases the time to recovery because your workload is always on in another region. This approach also allows you to more easily perform testing or implement continuous testing to increase confidence in your ability to recover from a disaster. Option A is incorrect, as with the pilot light option, infrastructure at the DR site is in shutdown mode. Once disaster happens at a primary site, infrastructure at DR location needs to be started and scaled up to meet the requirement of primary location. Option B is incorrect, as with multi-site active option, infrastructure at DR location need to be scaled up post-disaster at the primary location. With the multi-site active option, full workload runs simultaneously at both primary and DR location. Option C is incorrect, as with backup and restore, infrastructure at DR location needs to be set up post-disaster at primary location. Next question. Which of the following tools can be used to check service limits for resources launched with an AWS cloud infrastructure? And the options are: A. AWS Config. B. AWS Trusted Advisor. C. Amazon CloudWatch. D. AWS CloudTrail. And the correct answer is option B. AWS Trusted Advisor. Explanation. AWS Trusted Advisor checks for service users for all the resources within AWS Cloud and provides notifications. Option A is incorrect, as AWS Config can be used to audit, evaluate configuration of AWS resources, but it does not check service limits for resources. Option C is incorrect, as Amazon CloudWatch monitors AWS resources and applications on these resources, but it does not check service limits for resources. Option D is incorrect, as AWS CloudTrail is a logging service recording activity made to AWS resources, but it does not check service limits for resources. Next question. A retail e-commerce company plans to use Oracle SQL database for its new application that will be hosted on AWS Cloud. For full control of the transactional database and access to the operating system level of resources, which of the following is the preferred option? And the options are: A. Run database using Amazon DynamoDB. B. Run database using Amazon EC2. C. Run database using Amazon RDS. D. Run database using Amazon Aurora. And the correct answer is option B. Run database using Amazon EC2. Explanation. Oracle SQL database can be installed on Amazon EC2 instance for full control of the database. It provides users full access to the operating system level of the resources. Amazon EC2 instances can also be used in case Oracle database versions or features are not supported by Amazon RDS. Option A is incorrect, as Amazon DynamoDB is suitable for NoSQL database and not for Oracle SQL database. Option C is incorrect, as running a database using Amazon RDS will not provide full access to the database. With Amazon RDS, users do not get access to operating systems of the DB instance. Amazon RDS is a managed solution for highly scalable, highly available, secure database in AWS Cloud. With the database running on an Amazon EC2 instance, the customer is responsible for managing the instance, which includes routine patching and maintenance work. Customers also have to manage backups, scalability, and redundancy of the databases. With Amazon RDS, the underlying DB instance is managed by AWS. Option D is incorrect, as Amazon Aurora is a relational database which is compatible with MySQL and PostgreSQL. It is not compatible with Oracle SQL databases. Next question. AWS well-architected framework recommends centralizing the management of all account access from a security perspective. What helps you to configure services and resources centrally? And the options are: A. AWS SCP. B. AWS Organizations. C. AWS Inspector. D. All of the above. And the correct answer is option B. AWS Organizations. Explanation. AWS Organizations helps configure policies related to different services centrally. Also known as service control policies, they can be defined for your entire organizations. As an example, if you have configured a central logging of all API calls using CloudTrail, member accounts cannot override that policy using IAM policies. Option A is incorrect. Service control policies are a type of organization policy that you can use to manage permissions in your organization. SCPs are part of the organization, otherwise SCPs alone cannot manage AWS accounts. Option C is incorrect. AWS Inspector automates DevSecOps in the cloud by detecting security vulnerabilities in EC2 workloads. Option D is incorrect. Only AWS organizations have the ability to provide a central management of all my AWS accounts. Next question. A company manages Hadoop-based system on-premise. They are planning to migrate those systems to AWS. Which AWS service can they leverage for the migration? And the options are: A. Amazon EMR. B. Amazon Redshift. C. Amazon Poly. D. AWS Glue. And the correct answer is option A. Amazon EMR. Explanation. Amazon EMR, previously called Amazon Elastic MapReduce, is a managed cluster platform that simplifies running big data frameworks such as Apache Hadoop and Apache Spark on AWS to process and analyze vast amounts of data. Option B is incorrect. Amazon Redshift is a fully managed petabyte scale data warehouse service in the cloud. Option C is incorrect. Amazon Polly is a cloud service by Amazon Web Services, a subsidiary of Amazon.com, that converts text into spoken audio. It allows developers to create speech-enabled applications and products. Option D is incorrect. AWS Glue is a fully managed ETL, extract, transform, and load service that makes it simple and cost-effective to categorize your data, clean it, enrich it, and move it reliably between various data stores and data streams. Next question. A small business is looking for a virtual private server solution to host their business website. They want to launch the project quickly and lowest-friendly method. Which AWS solution can they consider? And the options are: A. Use AWS Marketplace to install a ready-made WordPress AMI. B. Use AWS Light Sail. C. Use a pre-configured customizable Apache web server on an Amazon EC2 instance. D. Download a pre-configured website on an EC2 instance from a third-party website generator. And the correct answer is option B. Use AWS Light Sail. Explanation. AWS Light Sail is an inexpensive, easy-to-use, novice-friendly and interactive platform to configure and launch web applications or websites quickly. AWS Light Sail is best to utilize for simple workloads and has fast start-to-end deployment. It is built to assist users who have little or no experience with web application design. It also allows users to implement small deployments that are easily disposable or easily scaled with the use case. Option A is incorrect because using AWS Marketplace to install a ready-made WordPress AMI onto an EC2 instance is feasible but not the most novice-friendly method. Option C is incorrect because using a pre-configured customizable Apache web server on an Amazon EC2 instance is feasible but requires the user to have a fair knowledge of Apache. The question requires a novice-friendly option. Option D is incorrect because downloading a pre-configured website on an EC2 instance from a third-party website generator is feasible but not the most novice-friendly method. Next question. Which of the following best describes a typical use case for AWS code pipeline? And the options are: A. To compose code in an integrated development environment that enables developers to run, test, and debug components of a dynamic microservice. B. To compile and deploy a microservice onto Amazon EC2 instances or AWS Lambda functions. C. To securely share code, collaborate on source code, version control, and store binaries on an AWS fully managed platform that scales seamlessly. D. To orchestrate and automate the various phases involved in the release of application updates in line with a predefined release model. And the correct answer is option D. To orchestrate and automate the various phases involved in the release of application updates in line with a predefined release model. Explanation. The question is looking for a typical use case for AWS code pipeline. Option D is the most appropriate because AWS code pipeline is typically utilized when orchestrating and automating the various phases involved in the release of application updates in line with the release model that the developer defines. Option A is incorrect because composing code in an integrated development environment that enables developers to run, test, and debug components of a dynamic microservice is the typical AWS Cloud9 IDE function. Option B is incorrect because compiling and deploying microservices on Amazon EC2 instances or AWS Lambda functions are the typical functions of AWS code deploy. Option C is incorrect because securely sharing code, collaborating on source code, version control, and storing binaries on an AWS fully managed platform describe the function of code commit. Next question. Which of the following support plans provide monitoring of the environment by the designated Technical Account Manager (TAM)? And the options are: A. Developer, B. Business, C. Enterprise on-ramp, D. Enterprise. And the correct answer is option D. Enterprise. Explanation. Only the enterprise support plan provides monitoring of the environment by the designated technical account manager. Question 228. Which of the following devices is most suitable for transferring 60 terabytes from the remote location to AWS in a single attempt? And the options are A. AWS Snow Cone, B. AWS Snowball Edge Storage Optimized, C. AWS Snowball Edge Compute Optimized, D. AWS Snow Mobile. And the correct answer is option B. AWS Snowball Edge Storage Optimized. Explanation. AWS Snowball Edge Storage Optimized is more suitable for transferring 60 TB of data from on-premise to AWS. It supports 100 TB, 80 TB usable storage capacity. It also has 24 vCPUs and 32 GB of memory of compute capability, which can perform in-transit data processing. Option A is incorrect, as AWS Snow Cone is suitable for data transfer up to 40 terabytes. AWS Snow Cone supports 8 terabytes of storage, while AWS Snow Cone solid-state drive supports 14 terabytes of storage. Option C is incorrect, as AWS Snowball Edge Compute Optimized is suitable for a storage capacity of 42 TB, 39.5 usable SSD and 7.68 TB SSD. This is more suitable for performing complex processing during data transfer. Option D is incorrect, as AWS Snow Mobile is suitable for large data transfer up to 100 petabytes. Using AWS Snow Mobile for transferring 60 terabyte data will be oversized. Also, AWS Snow Mobile is not suitable for in-transit data processing. Next question. What AWS tool can provide a comprehensive view of security alerts, perform security best practices checks, aggregate alerts, and enable automated remediation? And the options are A. Amazon Detective, B. AWS Inspector, C. AWS Security Hub, D. AWS Resource Access Manager. And the correct answer is option C. AWS Security Hub. Explanation. AWS Security Hub is an AWS service that gives a comprehensive view of security alerts and other security-related information from across different AWS accounts, services, and other configured third-party applications. Option A is incorrect. Amazon Detective is a security service that makes uses of AI, making it easy for the users to identify, analyze, and investigate security issues or suspicious activities. Amazon Detective offers advantages in terms of swifter investigations by providing visualizations that are easy to use. Option B is incorrect. Amazon Inspector is a tool to perform security assessment. Inspector gives us ability to define standards and best practices and assesses adherence to these standards. Option D is incorrect. AWS Resource Access Manager is a service that enables users to share AWS resources easily and securely. The resources could be shared with any AWS account or within your AWS organization. Next question. Which of the below is not a benefit of moving to the cloud? And the options are A. Scalability, B. Decreased TCO, C. Redundancy, D. Increased time to market. And the correct answer is option D. Increased time to market. Explanation. AWS migration will reduce the time to market, not increase time to market. Option A is incorrect, because scalability and elasticity are two of the main benefits of AWS. Option B is incorrect, because TCO, total cost of ownership, reduces upon migrating to the cloud. Option C is incorrect, because AWS Cloud provides redundancy at multiple levels. Next question. Your company has just begun using AWS Cloud resources. They want to know the cost of the resources used so far. How can this be achieved? And the options are A. By going to the Amazon EC2 dashboard. Here you can see the cost of the running EC2 resources. B. By using the AWS Cost Explorer. Here you can see the running and forecast cost. C. By using the AWS Trusted Advisor dashboard. This dashboard will give you all the cost. D. By seeing the AWS Cloud Trail logs. And the correct answer is option B. by using the AWS Cost Explorer. Here you can see the running and forecast cost. Explanation. Cost Explorer is a free tool that you can use to view your cost. You can view data up to the last 12 months and 12 months forecast how much you are likely to spend for the next 3 months and get recommendations for what reserved instances to purchase. Option A is incorrect. EC2 dashboard will not show the cost. Option C is incorrect. AWS Trusted Advisor provides recommendations that help you follow AWS best practices. Option D is incorrect. AWS Cloud Trail is an AWS service that helps you enable governance, compliance, and operational and risk auditing of your AWS account. Next question. Which service can identify the user that made the API call when an Amazon EC2 instance is terminated? And the options are A. AWS Trusted Advisor, B. AWS Cloud Trail, C. AWS X-Ray, D. AWS Identity and Access Management. And the correct answer is option B, AWS Cloud Trail. Explanation. AWS Cloud Trail helps users enable governance, compliance, and operational and risk auditing of their AWS accounts. Actions taken by a user, role, or an AWS service are recorded as events in Cloud Trail. Events include actions taken in the AWS Management Console, AWS Command Line Interface, and AWS SDKs and APIs. Next question. You are planning to develop an application that will be hosted on the AWS cloud. Your goal is to reduce interdependencies so that failures don't affect other components. Which of the following concepts does this requirement relate to? And the options are A. Integration, B. Decoupling, C. Aggregation, D. Segregation. And the correct answer is option B. Decoupling. Explanation. The entire concept of decoupling components ensures that the different components of applications can be managed and maintained separately. If all components are tightly coupled, the entire application would go down when one component goes down. Hence, it is always a better practice to decouple application components. Next question. To receive AWS Trusted Advisor notifications, what actions are required from the customer end? And the options are A. Open a ticket with AWS support, B. Set up notification in dashboard, C. Set up Amazon Simple Notification Service, D. No action is required. All notifications will be sent automatically on a weekly basis. And the correct answer is option B. Set up notification in dashboard. Explanation. AWS Trusted Advisor notification is an optional service that needs to be set up from the dashboard, providing a list of recipients and selecting resource items for which status is required. Option A is incorrect, as opening an AWS support ticket is not required to receive AWS Trusted Advisor notification. Option C is incorrect, as Amazon SNS is a separate service for push notifications, but it is not required to receive AWS Trusted Advisor notification. Option D is incorrect, as you need to set up the notifications in the dashboard. Next question. Which service would be used to send alerts based on Amazon CloudWatch alarms? And the options are A. Amazon Simple Notification Service, B. AWS Cloud Trail, C. AWS Trusted Advisor, D. Amazon Route 53. And the correct answer is option A. Amazon Simple Notification Service. Explanation. Amazon SNS and Amazon CloudWatch are integrated so users can collect, view, and analyze metrics for every active SNS. Once users have configured CloudWatch for Amazon SNS, they can gain better insight into the performance of their Amazon SNS topics, push notifications, and SMS deliveries. Next question. Why is Amazon DynamoDB service best suited for implementation in mobile, Internet of Things, and gaming applications? And the options are A. DynamoDB is a fully managed database instance with no infrastructure overheads. B. DynamoDB has a flexible data model and single-digit millisecond latency. C. DynamoDB instances are spread across at least 3 geographically distinct AWS regions. D. DynamoDB supports eventual and strongly consistent reads. And the correct answer is option B. DynamoDB has a flexible data model and single-digit millisecond latency. Explanation. The use cases mentioned in the scenario have unstructured data in common. Therefore, the most appropriate attribute of Amazon DynamoDB is its flexible data model and single-digit millisecond latency. Option A is incorrect because being fully managed and having no infrastructure overheads do not distinguish DynamoDB as the best suited solution for the given use cases. Option C is incorrect because the aspect of fault tolerance, disaster recovery, and high availability is also present in Amazon Relational Database. This feature does not distinguish the service in accordance with the described use cases. Option D is incorrect because this attribute of DynamoDB does not fully justify its exclusive choice over other instances when considered for implementation in the use cases mentioned in the question. Next question. Your client has multiple environments in AWS. In order to make proactive decisions about cost savings, the client would like to know the billing information for each of these environments for particular projects. Which option best meets this requirement? And the options are A. Consolidated billing, B. AWS budgets, C. AWS cost allocation tags, D. AWS organizations. And the correct answer is option C. AWS cost allocation tags. Explanation. Cost allocation tags appear as additional columns in detailed billing reports. As an example, let's say an AWS region has 50 EC2 instances running, out of which 15 are DEV, 15 are QA, and the remaining are prod. While launching these instances, one can apply a tag named ENV, providing value of DEV for 15 instances, QA for 15 instances, and prod for 20 instances. These tags then appear in a detailed billing report as columns which can be filtered based on the environment and the cost of a set of environment servers calculated easily. Option A is incorrect, since consolidated billing is a feature that applies to scenarios where a client has multiple accounts and would like to receive one bill for all his accounts. Option B is incorrect, since AWS budgets are used for setting custom budgets, budgeting costs to track costs and uses of resources, and get alerted when actual or forecasted cost and usage exceeds the limit set for that budget. Option D is incorrect. AWS organizations allows you to consolidate multiple AWS accounts into an organization that can be centrally managed for billing. They can have service control policies applied at the organization level that can override policies set up by IAM for individual accounts. Next question. Which of the following does AWS perform to reduce the likelihood of an EBS volume failure? And the options are A. Replication of the volume across availability zones, B. Replication of the volume in the same availability zone, C. Replication of the volume across regions, D. Replication of the volume across edge locations. And the correct answer is option B. Replication of the volume in the same availability zone. Explanation. When you create an EBS volume in an availability zone, it is automatically replicated within that zone to prevent data loss due to the failure of any single hardware component. Option A is incorrect. EBS volumes are replicated within an availability zone, not across multi-zone by default. Option C is incorrect. Across regions, replication has to be explicitly turned on for DR. Option D is incorrect. This is just a distractor. Volumes cannot replicate across edge locations. Next question. You are requested to expose your serverless application implemented with AWS Lambda to HTTP clients using HTTP proxy. Which of the following AWS services can you use to accomplish the task? Select two options. And the options are A. AWS Elastic Load Balancing, B. AWS Route 53, C. AWS API Gateway, D. AWS Light Sail. And the correct answer is option A. AWS Elastic Load Balancing and C. AWS API Gateway. Explanation. Option A is correct because AWS documentation mentions that application load balancers now support invoking Lambda functions to serve HTTPS requests. This enables users to access serverless applications from any HTTP client, including web browsers. Option C is correct Because API gateway plus lambda is a common pattern for exposing serverless functions via HTTP or HTTPS. AWS documentation mentions that creating, deploying, and managing a REST application programming interface to expose backend HTTP endpoints, AWS Lambda functions, or other AWS services. Option B is incorrect because Route 53 is a domain name system and not an HTTP proxy. Option D is incorrect because AWS Lightsail has a completely different goal. It is a service to speed up the provisioning of AWS resources. Option E is incorrect because AWS Elastic Beanstalk has a completely different goal. It's a service that makes it easier for developers to deploy and manage applications in the AWS cloud quickly. Developers simply upload their applications. Then Elastic Beanstalk automatically handles the deployment, details of capacity provisioning, load balancing, auto-scaling, and application health monitoring. Next question. You have an EC2 instance that interacts with the simple storage service. What features should be used to grant the EC2 instance with the appropriate permissions to access the simple storage service? And the options are A. IAM users, B. IAM roles, C. IAM groups, D. IAM policies. And the correct answer is option B. IAM roles. Explanation. The question asks how an EC2 instance can access AWS S3. The most important thing to remember for such a question is that IAM policies are attached to IAM roles and IAM roles get attached to the EC2 instances. So the answer is IAM roles. An IAM role is an IAM identity that you can create in your account that has specific permissions. An IAM role is similar to an IAM user in that it is an AWS identity with permission policies that determine what the identity can and cannot do in AWS. If any resource has to access another resource within cloud, the role-based access would be the most appropriate answer. Option A is incorrect. An IAM user is an entity that you create in AWS to represent the person or application that uses it to interact with AWS. Instead of being uniquely associated with one person, a role is intended to be assumable by anyone who needs it. Option C is incorrect. An IAM user group is a collection of IAM users. Option D is incorrect. IAM policies are used to manage access in AWS by attaching them to IAM identities or AWS resources. A policy is an object in AWS that, when associated with an identity or resource, defines its permissions. AWS evaluates these policies when an IAM principal, user, or role makes a request. Next question. During a live online game, DynamoDB service is used in the backend to store the real-time scores of plays from around the world. Which data consistency option is the most appropriate to implement? And the options are A. Strongly consistent, B. Eventually consistent, C. Strong eventual consistency, D. Optimistic consistency. And the correct answer is option A. Strongly consistent. Explanation. Since the gamers are from geographically distinct locations, the data will need to be immediately readable within a second as soon as it is written. Therefore, strong consistency is needed. Option B is incorrect because the scenarios outline that the participants of the game are live. It will not surface if any of them get updates on scores in less than real time. Option C is incorrect because strong eventual consistency is not applicable in DynamoDB. Option D is incorrect because only 2 data consistency models are available with the DynamoDB service. Optimistic consistency is not supported. Next question. Your company management wants you to analyze all the logs from several different applications running within your AWS EC2 infrastructure. Which AWS component would you use for this type of logging functionality? And the options are A. CloudTrail Logs Agent, B. CloudWatch Logs Agent, C. CloudFormation, D. VPC Flow Logs. And the correct answer is option B. CloudWatch Logs Agent. Explanation. You would use the Amazon CloudWatch Logs agent to store, monitor, and review log files from several different Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud instances, as well as from AWS Route 53 and AWS CloudTrail. This can be done by having CloudWatch logs keep up with the number of errors generated from each application log, and then send notifications when a specific threshold has been broken. Amazon CloudFormation is not used for tracking errors within log files. CloudFormation creates a standard infrastructure for automating resources needed for application processing. This service does not cost anything, but the resources associated with this process do. There is no such resource as CloudTrail Logs Agent. AWS CloudTrail is an AWS service that helps you enable operational and risk auditing, governance, and compliance of your AWS account. Actions taken by a user, role, or an AWS service are recorded as events in CloudTrail. VPC flow logs records a sample of network flows sent from and received by VM instances, including instances used as Google Kubernetes Engine nodes. These logs can be used for network monitoring, forensics, real-time security analysis, and expense optimization. Thank you for watching this video. Buy our AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner CLF-C01 premium questions with 50% off. Check link in the description.